Cathy Thomas, cookbook author Amelia Saltsman, has written a wonderful cookbook about cooking from the farmer's market. And I love some of your weeknight fast entrees.
Oh, well, thank you. That is one of my favorite parts of the book, I admit, because it's so, life should be simple. And
right. And we're all so limited on the amount of time we have to get dinner on the table.
Well, yes, that is for sure.
So what's the dish?
Well, this is one of my favorite family dishes. It's, well, I like to use farro penne, but a whole wheat penne will do, with winter greens and potatoes and cheese.
Now, how could that be bad?
Well, and you know, the whole wheat kind of pasta really sets off. You really need a whole wheat pasta to set off those potatoes and make the dish come together both visually and taste-wise. And of course, who doesn't want the extra nutrients that you get from whole wheat pasta? So.
And how do we start?
Well, we're going to start with, now this is what I love about this recipe. It's all about the greens, the diversity of greens you can use. And you know, we're not used to cooking with greens. So we're going to start with, we're using Swiss chard today. And you know what they say about Swiss chard?
I know they say it's delicious.
Well, but you know, it's really a beet without a root. They say it's the cousin of beets. So we've got these beautiful leaves of Swiss chard. And now I like to treat the stem as a separate dish, like the way you would cook celery. So we're just going to separate the stems from the leaves.
And you don't even need a knife for that, do you?
No, no. And you know, you can actually just do that.
That's right.
Jez, I learned that from a farmer. I tell you, you learn so much talking to the farmers. So if you wanted to use the stems, you could just chop them like celery.
Right.
And you could, so we've got some onion sauteing, and you could just add them to the dish, to the onion when you were cooking it. But we're going to set those aside and use them for something else. And just chop it roughly. Now you can see, Cathy, that the chard is still wet. Just clean it, leave the moisture on. You don't have to dry it. You don't have to go to a lot of trouble. And just, whoops, we want to...
Now we've got some onions that have softened in some olive oil over here.
Right.
And they're translucent at this point. You're going to add a little garlic.
Yes, because, you know, life is good with garlic. And that is, and garlic goes so nicely with greens.
And then the wet greens, the wet chard goes in there just like that?
Yes, just like that. And we've got some more right over here that we've already chopped. And that's going to cook down really quickly. We just want to wilt it give it a good stir. That would be perfect.
And so do we want to put a lid on this now?
Yeah. We're going to, and we need, let's give it a little seasoning here.
Oh, I like a little salt. And you want to put a little salt over here in the boiling
Yes.
water?
Well, let me crank some pepper in here. We'll set this aside. So once we've got this wilted, you want to give that a stir again, Cathy? And then we're going to just set that to cooking.
All right,
and turn the heat down. So now we're just going to let it steam and wilt and get tender. So that's the thing about comfort food, quick meal on the table. You want everything to be doing something. Talk about a multitasking meal.
There you go.
You know? So
and over here we have some boiling water in a pot.
And we're just
put in a little bit of salt.
Yeah, and you know, you want to really salt it generously because it adds the flavor.
Right.
And I like to salt right before I add the pasta. So here we're using about a half a pound of whole wheat, I think you got, pasta.
Yes.
Penne, macaroni. And we've got about a pound,
of fingerling potatoes
Fingerling.
that have been peeled and cut into small pieces.
And here's another thing about comfort food. One less pot to wash. We'll just cook everything all together in the same pot. It'll take about 10 minutes. So the trick here, of course, is to cut the potatoes into about the same size, pieces, so that everything can be done at the same time.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, Amelia, our pasta's cooked along with those beautiful chunks of potato. So what happens next?
Well, couldn't be simpler. We're just going to add, actually, we can turn the stove off if you like.
Okay, I can do that. And look at how beautiful the chard looks.
Isn't that great? I mean, this all happened in about 10 minutes. This cooked for 10 minutes. This cooked for the very same 10 minutes.
Gorgeous.
Right? Time is of the essence.
Right.
So we're just going to add all of our potatoes and our pasta. Give it a stir. And what we really want to do is get everything nicely combined.
Uh-huh.
And if it seems like, oh, it could use a little more liquid, well, here's a little magic trick. And that is to save out a little bit of the pasta cooking water. Now, this doesn't work for every pasta dish.
Right.
But, it's got the salt, it's got the wheat, and it's got a little of the starch. And so we just add a little to bring everything together.
Make it juicy.
Make it juicy. Right. And, of course, we're not adding any calories either, are we?
No.
And we want to make sure that we have enough seasoning.
Right.
So add just a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. And now for the magic step, which is we're going to use a nice melting cheese. So here, I think, did you get Fontina? Is that what you have here?
I did.
But you could use, a lot of the farmers markets sell Winchester cheese, a mild creamy Gouda, something like that, that's just going to melt right into this dish and bring it all together. And I tell you, this is such comfort food. And one of the nicest things, I'm just going to grab some tongs here and see if we can get this melting.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
Isn't that wonderful? And here's the thing. Pasta does not always have to be about tomatoes or macaroni and cheese. And in the winter, this is a perfect one. Tomatoes aren't in season. It's a whole flavor profile. And I've never met a person who didn't like this dish.
I'm sure they don't exist. Amelia, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, Cathy, as usual.